From David Tyree's miracle catch, to Gary Anderson's first missed kick all season, to Cam Newton's fumble that changed everything, just one bad break in the NFL can turn a legendary season.
One bad bounce is all it takes to turn a legendary run into a total heartbreaker. Welcome to NFL Facts, where we look at the giants that fell. We are talking MVPs, perfect records, and god-tier rosters that somehow walked away with nothing. Here are the top 10 greatest teams that choked on the big stage. Kicking off at number 10, we have the 1976 Pittsburgh Steelers. They were fresh off back-to-back titles and hungry for that elusive three-peat. And man, this roster was stacked. You had Mean Joe Green, a 10-time Pro Bowler and 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, wreaking havoc up front. Then there was Jack Lambert, the toothless terror at linebacker. He snagged Rookie of the Year in '74 and Defensive Player of the Year in '76 while anchoring a brick wall defense. Jack Ham was the silent assassin, a 6-time All-Pro with 32 picks, which was unheard of for a linebacker back then. And Mel Blount? The guy was such a physical beast at cornerback that the league literally changed the rules to stop him. 11 picks in '75 forced the Mel Blount rule to limit contact. Together, they were the Steel Curtain. But in '76, they stumbled out of the gate with a rough 1-4 start. Just when it looked like rock bottom, quarterback Terry Bradshaw got knocked out cold against the Browns. Lights out. It felt like their championship dreams died right there on the field. But then, rookie Mike Kruczek stepped in and refused to lose a single game. The defense went from great to straight-up mythical. Pittsburgh closed the season on a 9-0 run, allowing only 28 points total. That is basically 3 points a game. They posted 5 shutouts, 3 of them back-to-back, and went 22 straight quarters without giving up a touchdown. On the offensive side, Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier both smashed the 1,000-yard mark on the ground. That had only happened twice in a 14-game season. When Bradshaw came back, he inherited a juggernaut that had morphed from a disaster into a buzzsaw. In the divisional round, they absolutely crushed the Colts, 40-14. But that blowout came with a heavy price. Both Harris and Bleier got hurt and were ruled out for the AFC Championship against the Raiders. The Steelers scrapped hard, but without their run game, the offense stalled out. The Raiders won 24-7, a loss that still haunts Pittsburgh fans. Jack Lambert won 4 rings, but he still insists that '76 squad was the best he ever played on. Now, while Pittsburgh relied on grit, the number 9 pick, the 2011 Packers, were all about flash. Fresh off a Super Bowl win, Green Bay somehow leveled up and looked even scarier. Aaron Rodgers was playing video game football. Over 4,600 yards, 45 touchdowns, and only 6 picks. His passer rating was 122.5, an NFL record. He had weapons everywhere. Jordy Nelson exploded for over 1,200 yards and 15 scores, becoming Rodgers' favorite deep target. Greg Jennings racked up 949 yards despite missing time, and Jermichael Finley was a cheat code in the red zone with 8 touchdowns. You had the veteran Donald Driver keeping the locker room steady, and rookie Randall Cobb making splashes with a return touchdown in his debut. This offense was dropping 35 points a game. Only the 2007 Patriots had ever scored more efficiently at that time. They started 13-0. Dating back to the previous season, they had rattled off 19 straight wins. Sure, their defense gave up nearly 4,800 passing yards, dead last in the league, but who cares when you score at will? But the armor cracked in Week 15. A 5-8 Chiefs team, led by an interim coach, shocked the world and ended the perfect season. Green Bay finished 15-1 and hosted the 9-7 Giants in the playoffs. But right from kickoff, the vibes were off. Rodgers looked rusty after the bye. Receivers had a case of the dropsies, and the Giants' pass rush was living in the backfield. Then, the dagger. Right before halftime, with seconds ticking down, Eli Manning chucked a Hail Mary toward the end zone. 3 Packers were there, but Hakeem Nicks came down with it. Touchdown. That play broke them. The Giants rolled to a 37-20 win, sending the 15-1 Packers packing. No 15-win team had ever gone one and done in the playoffs until that night. But number 8, the 1987 49ers, might be even more baffling. 1987 was a wild year. A player strike cut the season to 15 games and threw everything into chaos. For 3 weeks, teams used replacement players. It was weird, it was messy, but the Niners ignored the noise and went 13-2. Their offense was absurd. They led the league in points, total yards, rushing yards, and passer rating, just total domination. Joe Montana tossed 31 touchdowns with the league's best rating, and Jerry Rice? The man was playing a different sport entirely. Rice played only 12 games and still caught 22 touchdowns. That is a record that still defies logic today. Roger Craig was a bully out of the backfield, and Ronnie Lott was the soul of a defense that allowed the fewest yards in football. With young studs like Charles Haley and Michael Carter, they were a nightmare. They shut out the Bears 41-0 and won 6 straight to end the year. Their playoff opener against the 8-7 Vikings was supposed to be a cakewalk. Vegas favored San Francisco by double digits, but Minnesota had other plans. Quarterback Wade Wilson, not exactly a Hall of Famer, started slicing up the Niners' elite defense. Then Anthony Carter put on a clinic, having one of the best playoff games ever with 10 catches for 227 yards. Montana could not get it going. He was turning the ball over and missing easy throws. Bill Walsh panicked and benched him for Steve Young. Young scrambled for a score, but the damage was done. The Vikings led 20-3 at half and cruised to a 36-24 upset. Talk about a stacked roster. That 87 squad was loaded. Top-tier coaching, a legendary signal caller, the GOAT receiver, a defense that ate people alive, and the league's top standings. But guess what? They choked. That sting didn't stick around, though. San Francisco bounced back to snag back-to-back rings right after. Funny thing is, history has a way of hitting the replay button down the road. Top seed, an MVP trophy, and a first-round flop. Sounds familiar? This brings us to spot number 7 with the Ravens. 2019 kicked off a whole new vibe in Baltimore. The pilot? A 22-year-old playmaker who broke every mold in the book. Say goodbye to Joe Flacco and hello to the Lamar Jackson show. Week 1 against Miami was a massacre. They hung 59 points on the Dolphins, the biggest blowout the franchise ever saw. Lamar tossed 5 scores and posted a flawless passer rating just for kicks. Jackson had seasoned vets chasing ghosts. That spin move against Cincy? Legendary stuff. Then came Monday Night Football, where he dismantled the Rams with another 5-touchdown masterpiece and a perfect rating. Again, they steamrolled the Seahawks in their own house and took apart Brady's unbeaten Pats on prime time. With Greg Roman cooking up a ground-and-pound masterpiece, they smashed the single-season rushing record with over 3,200 yards. We're talking the first squad in history to drop 200 passing and 200 rushing yards every single week. They wrapped up at 14-2, boasting the top record in team history, and sending 13 guys to the Pro Bowl, tying an all-time league best. Lamar became the youngest unanimous MVP ever, tossing 36 scores and sprinting for over 1,200 yards. Divisional round arrives, and they welcome the 9-7 Titans. Tennessee was just a scrappy underdog that barely scraped their way into the postseason. Should have been a cakewalk, right? Well, Derrick Henry looked at the script and decided to rewrite it himself. King Henry bulldozed for 195 yards, crushed their souls with a 66-yard dash, and even threw a jump pass touchdown just to rub it in. The Ravens went from invincible to clueless real fast. Lamar tossed 2 interceptions, coughed up the rock, and the offense kept stalling out on 4th down. Final score? Titans 28, Baltimore 12. That loss hurt so bad that Baltimore eventually said, if you can't beat him, sign him. They grabbed Henry in the 2024 offseason, while Lamar is still hunting for that elusive jewelry. But if Baltimore's collapse was a shocker, what happened to Washington in 1983 was one for the history books. Sliding into spot 6, the Redskins. They were the reigning kings, led by Joe Gibbs, who had turned that squad into a total machine. Joe Theismann was calling the shots, playing the absolute best ball of his life. In the backfield, you had 34-year-old John Riggins, the toughest guy to ever lace him up. And up front, the Hogs. That legendary O-line with Mark May, Russ Grimm, and Joe Jacoby. They piled up 541 points, an all-time record back then that nobody touched for 15 years. Defense? They snatched 61 turnovers, still the standing record. Their plus 43 differential is untouchable. They'd be up 21, 28, 35, and just keep pouring it on. Theismann took home MVP honors. Riggins led the pack with 24 touchdowns, a record that held up for more than 10 years. Gibbs? Coach of the Year, naturally. Playoffs start, and they destroy the Rams 51-7. Total domination from the opening kickoff to the final whistle. Next up, the NFC title game, a brawl against Bill Walsh's Niners. Washington stormed out to a 21-zip lead, but Joe Cool clawed his way back to knot the score. RFK got quiet until Mark Mosley nailed a clutch kick in the dying minutes. Ticket punched to the Super Bowl against the Raiders. Vegas had the Skins as 3-point favorites. They had the #1 offense, the best record, and all the hype in the world. But the gridiron gods love a plot twist. Just before the half, Thiesman tries a routine screen pass, but a backup linebacker named Jack Squirek sniffed it out like a bloodhound. He jumped the route, picked it, and strolled into the end zone untouched. That was the dagger. The Raiders seized the momentum and never let go. Final damage, 38-9, one of the biggest beatdowns in Super Bowl history. For Washington, pure embarrassment. The reigning champs, with one of the decade's scariest rosters, fell apart when it mattered most. That's a vibe. The team at number 5, the 2015 Carolina Panthers, understands perfectly. Here's the kicker. Nobody expected this squad to do anything. Their top target, Kelvin Benjamin, blew out his ACL before Week 1. Experts claimed they had zero firepower and no air attack. It was supposed to be a rebuild, maybe a wild card spot if they got lucky. Enter Cam Newton. The man was flying over goal lines like Superman one week and dabbing on folks the next. He piled up over 4,400 yards and 45 total touchdowns. The whole team vibed off that energy. Josh Norman was out there chirping at everybody. Luke Kuechly was calling out plays before they even happened. And Thomas Davis? The guy played with a broken arm in the postseason like a maniac. They stormed out of the gate 14-0, even feasting on Tony Romo with 2 picks on Thanksgiving Day. Playoff time. They took down Seattle, then absolutely embarrassed the Cardinals 49-15 for the NFC crown. Next stop, Super Bowl 50 against Denver. Cam was the MVP, the undisputed face of the league. But under those stadium lights, Denver's defense led by Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware unleashed hell. Miller strip-sacked Cam twice, causing chaos in the backfield. That moment when Cam didn't dive for the loose ball, that became the iconic image of the loss. Denver took it 24-10, but even with the L, those 2015 Panthers were legendary for bringing the swagger back to the Carolinas. We got MVP Cam and an electric offense that reminded everyone of our number 4 pick, the greatest show on turf. I'm talking about the 2001 St. Louis Rams. They had the works, an offense that couldn't be stopped. Kurt Warner, the grocery bagger turned MVP. Marshall Faulk, the ultimate all-purpose back. Plus Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce making deep throws look like child's play. 2 years prior, they stunned the globe by winning Super Bowl 34 out of the blue. But by 2001, the Cinderella phase was over. They were a full-blown empire. 14-2 record, unbeaten on the road, number 1 in points, number 1 in yards. The first squad to top both categories 3 years running. Warner tossed nearly 4,900 yards and 36 touchdowns to snag his second MVP trophy. Faulk, he just casually took home his 3rd straight Offensive Player of the Year award. In the divisional round, they tore apart Brett Favre's Packers 45-7. They picked him off 6 times and ran 3 of them back to the house. Then came the NFC Championship, where they took down Donovan McNabb and the Eagles 29-24. Marshall Faulk went absolute beast mode, putting up 159 yards and finding the end zone twice. This was the moment. The Rams were back on the biggest stage in sports, and it felt like destiny calling. Standing in their way? A gritty, young New England Patriots squad captained by a 24-year-old backup named Tom Brady. Nobody, and I mean nobody, gave New England a prayer. In fact, the Vegas odds makers had the Rams as a massive 14-point favorite. Right out of the gate, Ty Law snatched a pick-6 off Warner to shock the world. Meanwhile, the Pats' defense swarmed Marshall Faulk every single time he touched the rock. Late in the 4th, Warner engineered a comeback, tying it at 17 on a laser to Ricky Proehl with under 2 minutes on the clock. But with 0 timeouts and 1 minute 21 seconds left, Brady led a drive that changed the league forever. He was throwing dots, completion after completion. Then, with 7 seconds remaining, Adam Vinatieri iced the game with a 48-yard field goal. While the Patriots went wild, The torch was silently passed from the greatest show on turf to the Brady dynasty. But before Brady took over, the NFL had another absolute juggernaut. Coming in at number 3, the 1998 Minnesota Vikings. Under head coach Dennis Green, this squad had always been competitive. But they were missing that one X factor to get over the hump. That missing piece showed up on draft night in the form of a 21-year-old phenom named Randy Moss. Moss snagged 17 touchdowns that season, a rookie record that still stands today. And opposite him, Chris Carter, arguably the smoothest route runner to ever lace up cleats. Throw in Jake Reed, the versatile Robert Smith, and Randall Cunningham, a veteran QB who hopped off the couch from retirement, and suddenly, magic happened. At 35 years old, Cunningham played the best football of his life, posting 3,700 yards and 34 touchdowns. The offense put up a then-record 556 points, averaging nearly 35 a game. In Week 5, Cunningham aired it out for 442 yards, while Moss absolutely toasted the Packers' secondary for 190 yards and a pair of scores. On Thanksgiving Day in Dallas, Moss had a stat line for the ages: 3 catches, 3 touchdowns, and every single one was over 50 yards. They were so unstoppable that when wide receivers coach Hubbard Alexander stood up to give instructions, Randy would literally tell him, "Sit down." He'd say, "It doesn't matter who they are, we're gonna blow right past them." That was the whole scouting report, just him telling the coach to take a seat. Minnesota finished the season 15-1, cementing themselves as one of the most dominant regular season teams in NFL history. The playoffs started with a bang, a 41-21 beatdown of the Cardinals where Moss grabbed 2 more scores. Next up, the NFC Championship game against the Falcons. Cunningham was dialed in, firing darts to Carter and launching bombs to Moss. Late in the second quarter, up 13, Dennis Green decided to take a deep shot on 3rd down. Cunningham dropped back and got blindsided. Bam, fumble. Atlanta recovered, and a few plays later, they punched it into the end zone. Suddenly, it was 20-14, but the Vikings still looked in control. They traded blows with Atlanta, pushed the lead to 27-20, and by the final minute, they had the ball to ice the game. Out-trotted Gary Anderson, the most automatic leg in the game. The guy hadn't missed a kick all year. He was 35 for 35 on field goals and 59 for 59 on extra points. This was a routine 39-yard chip shot. Snap good, hold good. But the ball hooked wide left. The Falcons marched down the field, scoring a touchdown to send the game into overtime, and despite winning the opening coin toss, the high-powered Vikings offense stalled out. Then Atlanta drove down, and their kicker, Morton Anderson, lined up from 38 yards out and did exactly what Gary couldn't. He drilled it. Just like that, the team that revolutionized the vertical attack was done. But honestly, Minnesota wasn't the first squad to change the air game. See, a decade earlier, the 1990 Buffalo Bills ran something called the K-Gun, a lethal no-huddle offense commanded by Jim Kelly. They were so dominant they take the number 2 spot. Kelly ran the show like a field general, while Thurman Thomas was the engine that never quit running. Andre Reed and James Lofton stretched the field until defenses snapped. And on the other side, Bruce Smith and Cornelius Bennett gave opposing quarterbacks nightmares. Smith was at his absolute peak, racking up 19 sacks and taking home Defensive Player of the Year honors. The Bills tore through the league at 13-3, staying undefeated at home, but they really showed their heart against Denver, trailing 21-9 in the 4th. Then they went nuclear, scoring 20 points in just 77 seconds. A blocked field goal TD, a pick 6, and a goal line fumble recovery all in just over a minute. A week later, they rallied to beat the Raiders thanks to 2 clutch special teams scores in the final quarter. In the playoffs, they won a 44-34 snowy shootout against Dan Marino's Dolphins. Then, in the AFC Championship, they absolutely embarrassed the L.A. Raiders, 51-3. I mean, the crowd was chanting Super Bowl before the 3rd quarter even ended, and that's exactly where they were going. Their opponent, Bill Parcells' New York Giants, led by a backup quarterback named Jeff Hostetler. On paper, this should have been a blowout, but Parcells had a master plan. A slow, grinding game to chew clock and keep Kelly's high-speed offense stranded on the sideline. Still, the Bills struck first. Kelly found Reed, Thomas sliced the defense, and Bruce Smith even forced a safety to put Buffalo up 12-3, but the Giants wouldn't fold. Drive after drive, they bled the clock. Otis Anderson smashed into the teeth of the defense, and suddenly, New York led 20-19. Then came the final drive. Kelly orchestrated a masterpiece, hitting Reed and feeding Thomas until they reached the Giants' 29-yard line with 8 seconds remaining. Enter Scott Norwood, the kicker who had been reliable all season, lining up for a 47-yard attempt. The kick went up and drifted right, wide right. When it missed, my whole body just went numb, he said. I felt so empty out there. The Bills had lost, but that 1990 team was truly special. They were ahead of their time and built the foundation of a dynasty that reached 4 straight Super Bowls. The tragic part? They lost every single one of them. It's ridiculous to call them losers. As Bills owner Ralph Wilson said, I prefer to think of them as 4-time silver medalists. But if there's one player who hated losing in the Super Bowl more than anyone, it was 7-time champion Tom Brady. You want to talk about the ultimate heartbreak? Let's talk about the greatest team to never snag a Super Bowl, the 2007 New England Patriots. They felt like destiny in shoulder pads. Tom Brady wasn't just playing, he was in God mode, and Bill Belichick was coaching like he had stolen the other team's playbooks from the future. Then they added Randy Moss, and the offense turned into something straight out of a video game. After falling short in 2006, Belichick and Brady were out for blood. They completely revamped the weaponry, bringing in Wes Welker, Dante Stallworth, and Moss, a superstar everyone thought was washed up in Oakland. Talk about a glow-up. From week 1, they were a buzzsaw. They were hanging 38 points on teams in the first 3 weeks like it was a warm-up drill. Then came the 49s, 52s, and 56s, winning by an average of nearly 20 points. They clinched the division by week 12. By week 17, they were 15-0, knocking on the door of perfection. In the season finale against the Giants, Brady finds Moss twice. That gave Brady 50 touchdown passes, sorry Peyton, and Moss 23 scores, sorry Jerry. Records shattered everywhere. But the big story? 16-0. They put up 589 points, the most ever at the time, with a point differential of plus 315. Just absurd numbers. The playoffs were a demolition derby. They handled the Jags. They outlasted the Chargers. 18 straight wins. Invincible. Just one boss battle left. Super Bowl XLII against those same Giants they beat in Week 18. A scrappy 10-6 wildcard squad that barely sneaked into the dance. But when the whistle blew, the Giants' defensive line Strahan, Umenyiora, and Tuck decided to wake up and choose violence. They turned Brady into a punching bag, sacking him 5 times and rushing him all night. For the first time, New England's offense looked human. The Pats still clawed to a 14-10 lead, one stop away from 19-0. Then Eli Manning pulls a Houdini act, escapes a sure sack, and launches a prayer to David Tyree's helmet. Moments later, a pass to Plaxico Burress finds the paint. The Patriots had one last gasp, but the clock hit 0 on the dynasty. The perfect season evaporated. If there is one game in history I would change, it is that game, Brady admitted. Too bad life doesn't have a reload save button. It's the ultimate reality check. In football and life, you never totally figure it out. That was a brutal lesson to learn the hard way. It's a reminder that one bad game, one missed kick, or one helmet catch can flip history on its head. That chaos is what makes football so cruel and so beautiful. But every one of these teams left a legacy. Championships defined the league, but these squads defined an era. In the end, they didn't need a ring to be unforgettable. Their stories are gridiron mythology. If you dug this video, stick with NFL Facts, hit subscribe, and check out some of our other deep dives right here.